Obviously, we got some things to work on, but I mean that 3 minutes won us the game. Obviously a great effort by Besser. 3 goals. Hell of a play on that overtime. So you got to take the pauses, but we got some work to do. Obviously.
Why is it such a challenge? I mean, we saw what happened at the end, and obviously the extra attacker helps a lot. But you get pucks and people to the net. Why has it been such a challenge to do that on a regular basis against this team?
Well, I think generally the last couple of games, I think they've been a little bit better on battles and skating. They're moving their feet. I find we're not moving our feet, and we're kind of losing some battles. I don't think it's any technical thing. That's just my perspective. We got to get some guys in the fight here a little bit, but it's a lot easier to teach and prod and get guys going when you're winning. So hopefully this is going to bring some juice to some guys.
Rick, can you walk us through the DeSmith timeline, whether he skated today, what his status is, and also perhaps offer some thoughts on how Artur's performed for you tonight?
Yeah, he practiced yesterday. He's a competitor. He wanted to go, but we weren't. We just wanted to play the safe route. But and Smitty, he understands. And then we just went. I'm a big believer. You got to make the decision right there. Smitty understood, and we basically made the call yesterday. I forget what time, but it was fairly mid-afternoon.
With Quinn through 40 minutes, he was your low man 5-on-5 in ice time, and then was able to gut it out for you in the third. Looked like after that double hit, there was maybe a little bit of distress on the bench. What can you say about his status, and what do you take from the way he was able to compete through the third period, like up until he sort of changes that angle on the empty netter?
Yeah, they're running him, and that's playoff hockey, and we got to help him out in certain situations. You got to put himself in good position, better positions. But like I said, we got to, if we're skating a little bit more quicker, winning some more battles, they're not going to have as many chances to hit, and it's then that'll help Huggy. So I think it's just goes around in a circle for me.
Rick, as a player, you've been in similar spots that Besser has. How hard is it to have that level of patience? Game's clicking down, you know what's on the line. He makes 2 really nice patient plays. He doesn't just score the goals, patient plays to create those goals. How difficult is it to be able to do that?
Yeah, that's a pedigree of 40. He scored 40 goals, something plus goals this year. I've seen it happen all year. A goal scorer knows, the passer next to where they know the right time to shoot it, or sometimes somebody will they'll just jam it. You see that goal? He didn't jam it. He waited, brought it back. I don't know how many seconds were left, but that's best, right? He's got a really good hockey IQ to score goals. His timing is really, really good.
He's not a guy who's going to talk and be a vocal leader, at least not for us. But what have you learned about him in the time you've been around him, where he has the ability to put the team on his back and have the kind of game that he had tonight, especially third period?
I've really seen him, even throughout the year, he talks a lot more than last year. He is a leader in his own right. I think I said to you guys a couple of days ago, he's one of our better practice guys. You do a drill, he's always doing it right. I think it pays off, in games like this, when you got to be in the right spots, or you tell him there's a couple of things that we wanted to do. He was there to score the goal, right? That second stick guy, he listens. So I think he gets rewarded for it.
Rick, can you clarify for us, is DeSmith dealing with an injury, or was there something?
Yes.
Okay. And does that complicate, and that combined with She Loves' performance tonight, does that complicate who you put in net for Game 5?
Well, we're going to evaluate. Tomorrow we'll see how it goes. I'm proud of especially the goaltenders, next man up mentality. Those guys are, those guys know it's the next man up. So I think that's the approach, and we'll see how it shakes out tomorrow.
Rick, how do you size up Quinn's play overall this series? You mentioned in terms of, they're certainly more physical on him, the usage you were asked about, and ice time, but he, maybe isn't controlling the play as much as he typically would throughout the season, and then you kind of see him flip the switch there in the last few minutes that he's a big part of making the magic happen.
Yeah, I think Nashville's got, their game plan. They send 3 at you, so sometimes you got to play more of a give and go, you got to give the puck up a little quicker. Not saying Quinn, even our team. Sometimes I think when you get in trouble with this Nashville is when you hold on to pucks too long. Then you get doubled up on, and I think it's no different than the defense. As soon as you get it, sometimes you got to move it right away, and then maybe you get it down the road. But I think it's hard to play one-on-one hockey against Nashville.
Overcoming late deficits twice in this series, overcoming changes in goal. What do you think this says about the resiliency, the toughness of your group?
Well, that's before we started the playoffs. I asked a couple of guys, what word would you describe this team all year? And we wanted to put it on a T-shirt or our hoodies, and they said resilient. That's our word. So that worked tonight on that T-shirt. That word for us. It's it's been like that all year. Certain spots we've been put in, somehow we get out of them. Might not look pretty, like tonight wasn't pretty, and we got out of it somehow.
Rick, a lot of coaches in this situation having to turn to their third string goaltender might go, holy crap, like we just don't have a chance. But all Artie has done is win for you last year even, and then the stretch. Like, how much confidence did that give you going into, throwing a kid into a tough spot, obviously, but just the confidence that you had in him? Yeah,
I got to tell you, when we decided not, that we were going with Artie there, nobody was down. And we talked about him in Lafayette last year. Pressures, I don't care. There's still a big stage there. Abbotsford, he played some beat gets from down there. He doesn't look nervous to me. Like even before the game, like he doesn't say too much. I actually leave him alone because sometimes goalies be left alone. But I don't think the moment's too big for him. I like his demeanor. I think watching Casey and watching Demmer is something that he's watched the last couple of years for him. Helped.
And what did you think of the Forsberg goal in the moment? And have you seen replays? Did you think it was kicked in? Or
I don't think so. I think those type of goals got to be allowed in the NHL. I think he redirected it. I understand if it's a huge kicking motion, but I think they made the right call.
Just a couple more on DeSmith, because I know you'd like to answer more about your goalies.
Yeah.
The fact you're now up 3-1, does that allow you to be even more cautious with Casey and just keep going with Artie?
Yeah, it's a tough question because obviously, if Smitty feels good enough to go and we feel safely to get in there, you go with Casey, right? But saying that, we got Artie. We're confident with him, so I don't think it's a lose proposition. I think we win either way. I think the prudent thing is to get Casey healthy before we make any decision.
Do you expect that he would be an option for you?
Yeah, I think so. I think he would.
Rick, what are your biggest takeaways? You come to Nashville and win two different types of games. You take both games in Nashville. Heading back to Vancouver, what are your biggest thoughts heading back home?
Well, listen, they played really well the last two games, Nashville. Who's kidding who? We had some moments the last two games where we hung in there, but we definitely have to correct some things. I'm trying to be as honest as possible, and I'm happy for the guys. I'm happy, but we know we got to play better, and we got to get some guys going. You got to start to win some battles. It's not about hitting; it's about actually holding on to pucks and winning battles because they play a style. If you can win some battles, you're going to get your looks. But if you're not going to get looks. And I think that's really what it comes down to. We got to get some guys to understand that, you got to start to really, you got to step up your game a little bit. You have to. If they're going to play like this again, they're coming in Game 5. They're not changing. I know Bruno. He's a hell of a coach. His game plan's there. They're sending 3 at us, and if we're not ready for it, we might not be able to be as resilient the next game.
Rick, it seemed like, especially in the second period, when it looked like they'd broken the game open, it looked like they really did it off the rush.
Yes.
Which you have not surrendered much of this season. Where are they having success there? And despite the emotional high I'm sure you and the group have today, is that still a lingering concern for you going into Game 5?
We're not skating to forecheck, and then when we do skate, they're going the other way. So we're caught in between. if we're not going to skate, we might as well play a 1-4 and just stay back. But we're not going to do that. But my point is, we got to skate. You got to be connected. If we're skating off the forecheck, we'll have them in. If we're skating on the new regroups, it's no different than we have in our regroups. I didn't like our regroups with the puck. It seemed like we were sloppy. So, but there was some guys battling though. I mean, I'm not going to name everybody. Guys like Ian Cole, these guys were battling. That's the. Z was battling. These guys played in playoffs where you can tell they're stepping up their game. So hopefully it's infectious for the other guys. Millsy too.
This is the way.
I hate roller coasters.
I feel fun.
Generational talent. Thanks for liking the video and subscribing.